Hey there, Justice 3 Gaming and Justice 3 Strike Force. Welcome to your daily dose of Marvel Strike Force with me. And today we're going to be talking about ISO-8 Blue. And for the most part, I'm going to give you the small details of what they are and what they're going to compose of, and how they're going to relate to the newest team, Heroes for Hire. Because honestly, between all the players that are coming in and shooting for these players, they are a massively effective war defense, and how their ISO-8 blues are going to go can matter a lot to you guys. Also, possibly to those teams coming at them. So let's get things started. What I got up here on the screen for you guys is what my final form I believe is going to be for my ISO-8 blues. Now, just to give you a heads up, in order to upgrade from your greens to your blues, you're only going to need about 10,000 ions, which is not that bad at all. And once that happens, it's going to consume all those crystals from that current class 5, and you're going to get upgraded to blue. But don't worry, the stats for that will stay the same. Now, as I understand it, it's going to be for that ISO-8. I believe you're upgrading the matrix, so I think you only got to do this once, and I'm not entirely sure the way that they have this worded up here. I'm gonna read it again just in case. To unlock the power of T2 ISO-8, a level 75 character will need to equip a T1 green ISO-8 class 5 in each of these slots of the T1 class 5 to upgrade the matrix. So I believe what this really means, though, is, if you're reading between the lines a little bit and you've been upgrading your characters accordingly, you don't have to invest in the final form of that class 5. So you're saving 50,000 ions. Why would they bother saying it like this unless that's the case? Because it's saying ISO 5, class 5 crystals in each of the slots of the T1 level. You're gonna have those in there anyways, right? If they're putting that statement there, that to me almost sounds like you don't have to pay for the class 5 to apply it. You could just immediately upgrade the matrix. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me right away. I guess we're gonna find out tomorrow right away. But it'll cost 10,000, like I was saying before. In order to upgrade. When you upgrade the matrix, the equipped T1 crystals will be consumed, but their stat bonuses will remain. Why that even matters, I don't know. You're upgrading, right? And I'm talking about the crystals being consumed. It's not like you can take those crystals out of there and reuse them for another character. I think it looks like they're just trying to fill up space in their paragraph here. Alright, but when you upgrade the matrix, each individual class will have T1 level 5 in order to be upgraded. T2 must be T1 level 5. Oh, okay. Each individual class. If you got a skirmisher, only way to get to ISO Blue 8 skirmisher is to already have that class 5 skirmisher, which is going to lead you to that extra ions that I was just theorizing not having to spend at all. But I guess you're going to have to anyways. So for anybody that has been mixing and matching their ISOs right now, you're kind of screwed here because you're not going to get blue everything. Alright. So let's see here. Upon equipping the T2 crystals and upgrading the classes, the T2 ISO-8 will grant certain stat increases. That's pretty much a given. And each class will have more significant increase to specific stats. That's also a given. However, these guys get to pick and choose what those will be. Now, it's probably not going to be something that you would think of right away. It'll probably be the one thing that you know is supposed to be there. And then the second thing for that ISO-8 blue is something that makes it special. Something that is going to make you want to choose that class over another ISO-8 blue class. That would be the smart way to market it anyways. So T2 ISO-8 will also grant new bonuses to each class, which will add another level to your attacks. And here's the overview of the level 3 updates for each class. Now, by the time you get to the end of this article, and I do recommend that you go to Marvel Strike Force website to keep up to date with any of the information, but I got that here for you, so up to you whether or not you want to review that information. Now, by the time you get to the end of this, what you're going to learn is in the new addition to the ISO-8 Blues here, you're only going to be able to get to level 3 right now. And on their part, that's a bit smart on the development side of things because once ISO-8 Blue comes out, it's going to flip everything upside down. There's going to be a big question mark on every level of this game on how it's being played and where the advantages and disadvantages are going to come in. And there's going to be a lot of OP stuff that's going to be popping off, in different areas of the game. And it's going to be unpredictable on how that's going to happen. And really, it's up to us to determine where that is. And unfortunately, that's going to take about 90 days, just like any change to the game, in order to know where everything's going to go. My guess would be that's the number that they're shooting for, is 90 days before unlocking probably Class 4 and Class 4 and Class 5. But it looks like we're only going to level 3 here to probably get a lot of people caught up to Doom 1, because there's not enough alliances that are actually getting in there. And now with the new requirements, whether they keep them or not, and I think they honestly should keep them, because let's face it, you should not be getting into the more elite areas of the game unless you're with an alliance or your alliance themselves are developed to a certain point. Let's face it, that's the way it needs to be, okay? The general state of things when it comes to raids is going to be, here's a new raid, okay? And the newest mechanic that you're dealing with right now is, okay, after a certain period of time, now that we got certain alliances, content creators, and whatnot up in the Doom 1, and all that information has been disseminated to the rest of the players and the alliances that are trying to get into Doom 1, they're going to introduce the difficulty selector for Doom Run, which pretty much opens the door for any more casual, commonplace alliances that might be out there kind of itching to get in. Now, this new requirement with the ISO-8 minimum of, I think, like Class 3, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments or in the chat, if you will. I think they should keep that too. What you're going to get is a lot of flooding between alliances into these new Doom raids. They either got to balance the points that come out of it for the season in order to keep things more level. Now, right now, it's not level because even though newer alliances are leaking into Doom 1, the points are still pretty substantial when you're talking about seasonal rewards. Now, keeping that spread out a little bit is the best way to keep things balanced, but I'm not a developer. That's just my recommendation and the way that I think about things when it comes to game design. So, real quick, I'm going to go through the different improvements by Class 3, what's going to happen, basically what's going to happen, because the stats really do matter, and they're keeping it sort of hidden in the text here. So, Strikers have a simple yet powerful bonus to upgrade when an enemy has at least 2 vulnerables. And don't freak out about that, because skirmishers, I'll tell you right now, they're on a basic level. As long as you got that skirmisher up to Class Blue, you're going to be fine. You're putting out 2 stacks of vulnerability with every time that you go out. So not a big deal on that level. So Strikers will deal additional damage based on their max health to that enemy. That's huge. That's a lot bigger than you might think it is. For certain characters that deal tons and tons of piercing damage, characters like Kestrel and Silver Surfer are going to absolutely disintegrate enemies on the field with this. I mean, it's huge. Okay? It's going to be a big boon to a lot of other teams out there. But those 2 characters are just gonna run with it. I mean, especially characters like Dr. Doom as well, whenever you pick him up, and that's huge. That is huge, huge, huge. The damage bypasses armor and barrier. Next on the list is Fortifier. Fortifier gains several bonuses with T2 ISO-8 to further protect the character. On turn, Fortifier gains a minor defense up. Now, as you can see on my screen here, I put on Fortifier. I did have a theory. If you guys watched that other video before, there should be a Heroes for Hire thing at the top of the screen. If you haven't already and you're watching this on YouTube, check that out. And I did theorize on my agree or disagree video that Fortifier might be a really good ISO-8 blue for characters like Luke Cage, even though he's pretty slow, to keep him alive in the fight, especially given the fact that he's got these charges that are going to resurrect him and just make him even more powerful with damage reduction, damage increases, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But check this out. On Fortifier, on turn, he's going to get a minor defense up. So sort of a halvesies on the defense up. But considering the fact that he does have defense up to the rest of the group, this is actually pretty important for anybody who is facing a problem with people trying to really focus down Luke Cage right away, and it sort of really crumbles this team. But in truth, any one member that you take down is kind of going to crumble this Heroes for Hire team. But some more than others, and it really depends on, again, how many stars do you have, how many red stars do you have, where your gear tier is, and as well as how many T4s you're willing to invest in this team. Yeah.
My stuff came. Can I open it?
Yes, you may. Oh, my son, everybody, he is just like, super excited about Dungeons and Dragons. We've been playing a lot of board games lately, and that's his end of the year prize for summer vacation.
And I'm gonna do my stats with a D100.
That's actually really that's
dice.
really good. All right, later, man. I'm gonna finish this video and I'm gonna come out and check that stuff out with you.
The box cutter.
The box cutter.
If you can find it.
How about you use Hey, Balto, you don't need to be barking like that, buddy.
Cutter.
All right, clicks to the first level, no further. Understood?
Okay. Understood.
You understand when it goes like here, you gotta wait for it to click, so it doesn't, so the blade doesn't go anywhere.
I understand.
Okay. All right, bring it back when you're done, please.
Yes.
All right, so here's the other biggest part about this, and it really brings up a lot of questions on what you could do with this Fortifier on war defense with this Heroes for Hire team, which is that Fortifier will also gain barrier on spawn based on their max health. It's not what their current health is. It's not what their, anything else. It's not, they're not abiding by the 30% rule on max health anymore. It's their barrier on their max health. Like, well, I mean, that's barrier. Okay. Whoa, let's erase that. Hold on a second. Are they trying to trick us here? Fortifier is also gaining a barrier on spawn based on their max health. It's already based on their max health. 30% of their max health. So there's something hidden in the wording here that we have no idea what that is, because it's already based on their max health. 30% of their max health. So there must be a greater percentage on their max health. That would be my assumption, but we all know how dangerous it is to make that assumption. So right there for me is going to be the make or switch on this Fortifier for my Luke Cage. I don't know, though, because of the on-spawn condition of Fortifier, that's actually pretty powerful. I guess that's up in the air a little bit. Alright, so Healer, in addition to increasing the strength of active healing, healers receive 2 additional effects with T2 ISO-8. Ooh, wait a minute, I just thought of something. Luke Cage has got the biggest health on the team. And you're getting a minor defense up already. So having a Fortifier on Iron Fist might be a better solution. Because Luke Cage already has an insane amount of armor already. Having him set up with a healer class based on his health is better. The active heal that he's going to be that he'll be passing off to another character won't go as fast as Iron Fist, but the survivability of Iron Fist would go up at the initial stages of any battle. I'll have to review their HP and their HP war bonuses, because that Fortifier is going to go way up, especially with room bonuses. Because we're talking about max health. I may actually flip the script on this one and think that Iron Fist should have that Fortifier, because he's the healer of the team. He's the one that's going to be keeping them up. And then Luke Cage already has this massive amount of HP, but if it doesn't match up with the healer too much, then it doesn't matter, because once Luke Cage starts getting those heals, it won't be enough to fill him up back all the way. And Iron Fist is already healing, so maybe Fortifier could be a really good deal for Iron Fist. An ally, okay. So, all right, let's go over the rest of it. They'll clear a minor bleed from an ally with the lowest health. That's pretty useful, especially if you're getting a lot of teams that are coming up with, let's say, a X Factor type of push to this team to try to get them down. That could matter a lot. Healers also start with applying regeneration instead of minor regeneration. So you get a really good one. And with a team like this, having a full regeneration is way better. They could heal a ton of HP off of that. So having Iron Fist and Luke Cage with a class 5, ISO-8 blue class 3 could be pretty big. Yes?
Here.
Thank you very much.
And I'm gonna open both the handbox. Yeah.
Go right ahead, bud.
Alright. Come.
Have fun. Alright, we'll start brainstorming more at the end. My brain's sort of going everywhere on the thought processes behind ISO-8 Blue right now. But here's a really good one. Skirmisher. Skirmisher not only complement the Striker's update, but get a couple other bonuses as well. Now, I told you about that double stack of vulnerability right away, which is pretty huge here in regards to the relationship between Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. Whatever you put your investment in, the opposite should always be the other character. I did, started using Striker class 5 for both of them, because it's sort of an advantage given that Kestrel is on the team, giving those defense downs, and it gives them a really big advantage off the start. However, with ISO Blues, this can change a little bit, considering the fact that Colleen is a little bit faster, will always be going before Misty, but the assisted attacks here are what makes her Skirmisher that much more interesting. So they'll apply the double stack, like I was saying before. They'll gain an extra focus for their clear. So if so happens that Colleen is able to hit a vulnerability, she'll be able to get a higher focus to that removal, which is not a big deal, and I'm kind of ignoring that for this team right now, but that's very big for some other teams, like let's say Astonishing X-Men. That's a really big one. And lastly, the Skirmishers will gain a damage boost to their assists. So when they're assisting, they're going to get that damage boost. And for Colleen, that's actually really good. Almost better than having her with Striker, even though she gets that percentage boost to her damage, which is piercing already, and that's pretty big also. But given the kind of targets that are going to be coming at this group, having them pair off like this is a pretty big advantage. Won't know until I get the relative data for ISO Blues here, but we're gonna see how that works in probably through next month, and I'll be gathering that data as we move along. I will be doing a war report for how people are attacking Heroes for Hire up to this point, probably later in the week. So be on the lookout for that video. That'll probably be in the description somewhere as well. Raider. Raiders are definitely for Heroes for Hire. I'm not going to use that for this team, but I can see some very specific teams really, really banking hard on this Raider here. So, similar to Skirmishers, Raiders will be spreading around vulnerability more generously with each attack on active ability hits. Now, there's the key right there. Active ability hits, they'll have a chance to make a bonus attack on each enemy hit for piercing damage. Piercing damage. I see this being a massive boon to characters like Killmonger. Oh my god, you got a strong Killmonger. Well, hello, Raider. Okay, this is gonna just be ridiculous for this character. I mean, the days of fighting these non-stop tough characters like Killmonger are about to come back, because something like Raiders, that is just so detrimental on the defensive side of things. I am strongly consider bringing them back into my lineup. They may be the next project on top of this one, depending on how people are really kind of using. I'm going to be paying close attention to the T4 Confidence on MSF.gg. Do highly recommend going there for all your Marvel Strike Force needs when you need to get a good overlook at where your plans are for Marvel Strike Force. Because remember, the strategy is just as much out of the game as it is in the fight. Man, Raiders. Now, would I consider Raiders on this team at all? I don't think so, because a lot of it is still dependent on that percentage. I was hoping that Raiders were going to get a crit chance percentage manipulator somewhere, but who knows? That may be coming in, like, let's say the Class 4 or Class 5. I think what they want to do is try to add a special ability to each one of those classes to make them that much cooler and, that more thought-provoking. All right, overall, what do I think about these ISO-8s? And ISO-8 blue, where are you going to get them? Doom 1, that's it. Doom 1 or the market packages that come out. Not calling them offers because they're market packages. They set forth the value and they can set the prices at anything that they want, so they're just market packages. Is that okay? Yeah, definitely. That's gonna be okay. You don't want any, when it comes to game design, you don't want any huge, like, evolutionary leaps between alliances or characters, because you're gonna get a lot that are gonna break up, and then you got nobody playing your fucking game. And that's something that really needs to have, like, a really good sensitive touch to, and might be smart that they're locking off 4 and 5 to see how everybody's gonna do with it, see how much of the landscape changes with the new ISO-8 blues. It's going to be locked behind orbs and offers, market packages. But that's pretty much all you need to know on that level. And again, this confirms at launch you'll be able to upgrade to level 3 and be able to upgrade to level 4 and 5 in the future. Now, in the future, it's going to be after the 90 days, minimum. My predicted timeline on 4 and 5 coming around is probably going to be October. That's usually a big month when it comes to the market and the kind of money that they're going to bring in for that quarter. October is definitely going to be a big one. So my guess would be 4 and 5 will come out then. So let's talk about the team specifically. Will this change what could be your 5th member? I would say just a little bit. There's not a lot of characters that are going to complement this group too much. Killmonger now, however, can be a pretty big one. getting those extra attacks and those vulnerabilities out there for characters like Colleen and Misty to take advantage of could be pretty big. I mean, Kestrel is a massively powerful character to begin with. It's like having a security room without a security room bonus. So it's going to be hard pressed to see who's going to take out Kestrel for that reason. My recommendation for any alliance out there that might be watching this video is you should probably only put Kestrel and Silver Surfer in the bonus rooms that you have, especially, any paths that you might be laying out to get to the armory. Armory definitely should have Kestrel and Silver Surfer in them, period. It just makes them that much more difficult to get through, and that bonus is probably the most important bonus, other than maybe security, in Alliance Wars. But they're all super important, even the HP bonuses. Now, the HP bonuses, I will tell you, is probably a big Achilles heel for this Hero for Hires team, given that, with like Luke Cage and whatnot, the friggin' HPs go right through the frickin' roof. So that one's got to go before you even consider fighting Heroes for Hire, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not a captain, I'm not a leader, so I can't dictate policy on where attacks go. So what I'm looking at right now is probably going to be the basic package to where I want to put my ISO-8 blues. I mean, Kestrel, that's a given. That piercing damage is going to take a huge boost. And I can see this team, especially with Kestrel, really fucking with some people's heads on this one. I mean, you're going to have an on-spawn, super fast team to probably get this team going. I mean, even that Kestrel Silver Surfer team is going to need some pretty high-level ISO-8 blues probably to get this going. Most likely, both will have to be strikers, and if you can arrange the speed for it, probably, hitting Silver Surfer with a skirmisher and supporting Kestrel with the striker, and that would be a one-shot wonder right there. You'd be able to get her out in that wave no matter what. I mean, this is probably going to remain a 2-tap team for a very long time. Now, Colleen and Misty, there's the question mark there when it comes to determining the ISO-8 class, blue or green or otherwise, because it all really depends on how they work together on that one. They got so many assists going around, and pushing that up. And what made me change my mind on Colleen from being a striker and getting that really sweet bonus is the skirmisher. She's going to be able to get a lot of good damage out there with her bleeds and disadvantages like heal block, and now she's going to get more damage on her assists. That's pretty hefty. And given that you're trying to do these really big shots to get singular characters out that might be attacking this team is very important. That's probably why I went with Skirmisher for Colleen and Striker for Misty Knight. Misty Knight's always going to be following Colleen. So she's got a really big shot coming in on top of the target that she could possibly be targeting from Colleen. Now, one of the reasons why also that I'm going with Skirmisher is that it allows for a much better strategic kill shot when it comes to that, because if Colleen's damage is too high, you're not going to be able to make that arrangement too often, because there are conditions to certain abilities for both their kits that will ignore taunt. And so they're going to go to different kinds of characters that you wouldn't normally think otherwise. And, the enemy could take advantage of that. They stop thinking about, okay, who I need to focus down, and really start thinking about, okay, if I have this much HP in this area, they're actually going to be attacking over here, and it's going to protect my team in other areas here, and I'll be able to take this Heroes for Hire team down altogether. I'm not mainly an offensive guy, so I can't come up with that strategy myself. I can only theorize about what might be coming in. And so getting that extra damage on the assist from Colleen is pretty big, given that her damage is primarily piercing to begin with. And Misty's also got a really awesome basic, and she's already getting assists. And with that basic, I believe if we check her profile out real quick, that it is a part of the original code. So there's, whenever you're thinking about what can someone's basic do on assist, you look for the words plus, the symbol plus, or the word and that's a part of the same safety code they got going for things like counter attacks and assists. So that all goes together. So what you're going to be getting here is that attack primary target plus the chance to apply defense down. Now, if you go all the way, obviously you're always going to put that defense down, no matter what. And ultimately, that makes this basic super powerful because you're always going to be getting that defense down, especially on those assists. Now, given that that assist has a defense down on it, is going to make follow-up attacks with Striker a fucking nightmare. I mean, it's going to be like a nuclear explosion. It's going to be one of the most powerful basics in the game in terms of defense in Alliance War. That's huge, especially with Striker. So when it comes down to it, she's probably the only solid ISO-8 blue that I'm going to recommend wholeheartedly be Striker. I mean, she's just slow enough. She's always going to be behind Colleen. She's going to get that additional attack. And I mean, look, Strikers deal additional damage based on their max health to the enemy, increasing the Striker's potency. The damage bypasses armor and barrier. Armor and barrier. Okay? So, who gives a flying fuck if you're coming at this team with Fantastic Four or X Factor or anything? That target that Misty's going after is most likely gonna fucking die. I mean, her kit is pretty dangerous when it comes to Striker, and it's the biggest reason why that her partner here, Colleen, is going to be so effective as a skirmisher. She's going to get a little extra damage on her assists to begin with, and she's going to be laying down all those bleeds and heal blocks. It's going to be a nightmare to fight, that's for sure. Now, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Man, they work so well with either Fortifier or the healer class right now, even. That is really going to be a toss-up on where I want to go with these two when it comes to that. Now, with enough red stars, I would wholeheartedly probably go with Fortifier to begin with because, Iron Fist is already healing, most injured allies and has a very cheap, economically cheap special to be able to heal the rest of the group with, and on turns also going to have a really awesome heal to boot. So it leaves RNG to the fact that whether or not someone's going to recover from an injury or not. Now, I think for me, when ISO-8 Blue finally comes out tomorrow or the day after, assuming that, it's a bug-free maintenance, I haven't seen any alert about it, so maybe it isn't tomorrow. Usually that just pops up in the chat and says, oh, maintenance at this time, and it's usually the day after. But I don't know when is there a date? Is there a date? No, not yet. Latest updates, Pride and Telepass. Let's see if that's actually in there. We'll go over this new character tomorrow. I'm just trying to check to see if they actually nailed the date on this next update. June 4th, Catalyst of Change, X-Force to your roster, blah, blah, blah. They don't actually say when they're going to do this update. We would have seen an alert in-game by now. It's going to have to come very soon because we're just about due for a new character right now. In the middle of the blitzes, though? Probably not till next week. But Fortifier. Why do I think Fortifier is going to be such a huge deal for this team in the future? I have a sinking feeling like 4 and 5 is just going to be a monster upgrade when it comes to it. Now, they were toying with the idea of barrier being spread to multiple teammates way in the beginnings when they were first coming up with these designs. And based on, let's say, player feedback, ones that were allowed to do testing and was probably, blocked off from talking about it at all because there's no final data on this kind of thing. But we may be looking at something like that by class 5, as in they're going to lay down on term that 7% that was at class 5 ISO-8 green. They'll probably do that 7% for the entire team. That'd be fucking huge. Huge, huge, huge. Huge, huge, huge. Now, the X factor, no pun intended, to the actual team in the game is going to be the deciding factor. We'll call it that. The deciding factor for me is going to come down to what the health bonus is to both. Fortifier. It's going to be probably going to be exactly the same between all the different classes. But what we're really looking at here is what is the health boost that's going to happen with the class 5 healer. There could be some kind of manipulator there that's going to be pretty huge, and it's going to be hard to justify not putting Luke Cage in a class 5 ISO-8 blue, not class 5, but class 3 ISO-8 blue. It's really going to depend on what those numbers are once we finally get to them. All right, I'm not going to talk you guys' ear off about this anymore. ISO-8 blue, what do you guys think is going to be coming in the future? Is this going to turn the game upside down, or we're going to basically relearn how to play our favorite characters all over again? I believe it's going to be a nightmare at first. It's going to change everything. It really, really is. But it's going to take a bit to get used to, and then they're going to end up doing a little minor freak out again once they unlock the 4 and 5. And I have a feeling they're just kind of biding their time, seeing where everybody's using their stuff, and is going to put bonuses or whatever the fuck they want in 4 and 5 to make it that much more marketable for when they do that. So thanks for coming by and watching. If you guys like Marvel Strike Force as much as I love it, consider following this channel right here on twitch.tv/Justice3 Gaming. I do upload this video to Justice 3 Strike Force, which is my dedicated YouTube channel for Marvel Strike Force information. I only do the daily Strike Force show now because everything is just getting a little bit convoluted when it comes to the information that comes in this game and all other games, and I just like the idea of just talking about my favorite game. So if you do like that, consider liking and subscribing to both my Justice 3 Gaming and Justice 3 Strike Force channels. Subscribe to them as well. Turn on that notifications bell so you know when I'm uploading any awesome videos for you guys to watch. And always comment on things that I might be saying wrong. The best way to know everything is for someone to just step up and say, nope, you're wrong, but guess what happens when that person teaches me about that new thing? I know everything again. Do I know everything? Fuck no, I don't know everything. Anybody who says they know everything is full of shit. But I digress. I hope you enjoyed your time with this video. I wish you passion, love, and gaming. And never forget, rule number 1 gaming is to go where the fun is, no matter what your alliance is trying to force you into doing or bullying you into doing. Don't buckle into the peer pressure. Play your game, because ultimately this is your game. Have fun with it. And I wish you the best. Summer vacation is coming up. I'm hoping to see a lot more of you guys right here on the channel. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next show.